Welcome back to KitchenAcademic.com. Marcus with you again, and we are in a special time of the year this year. Oh, actually for any type of a year. It's the holidays. Thanksgiving has actually just passed. It's actually been a couple days since Thanksgiving, and we have Christmas coming around the time. But for both of those particular holidays, one item that is almost a staple for everybody's table would be a turkey. And what I want to do for you guys today is to show you the picture-perfect way to bake the most succulent, the most perfect turkey that you'll ever have in your life. That's how confident I am in this technique and with this method that I'm about to show you. We're going to get right into it. Now, I'm taking my bird here. This is a pretty decent sized bird of about 24 pounds. I've taken it, I've washed the outside of it, and also gone through and searched for any bits from the feathers. And what you'll likely see a lot of times is in the wings or on the sides right here that you'll have little bits of the wings. And I just left one right here. You can see just a little bit of a bit from the feathers. I said wings, didn't I? I meant feathers that you want to get rid of. That's actually no bueno. That's no good for when you're cooking. So what you want to do is just search your bird and you kind of just feel across the top of it, the sides, the legs, the wings. You just feel for rough edges. When you feel one of those rough edges, that's where you got one of the bits from the feathers that you want to get rid of. Actually found one more here. And then for those ones that are kind of actually hard to get to, what you want to do is maybe take some nail nose pliers like I have right here and just yank those bad boys out. Just like that. But bird is pretty much ready to go. Now, next thing you want to do is actually remove any inside bits. And this one only had a neck in there. There were no gizzards. It kind of screwed me on that one. So I've removed that. Now, as far as like what you're actually cooking, you always want to make sure that you're doing two things. One is tying this bird so it's as tight as it can possibly be. With this particular one, this back edge right here comes with a little plastic clip that is actually oven safe, and that you can place right into the oven. That'll keep the legs nice and tight. So that really just leaves the wings. Now, I could go into a whole fancy bit about how to get some butcher twine and truss them and make it so it'll be a big fancy knot. But how many of you guys actually have butcher twine? And how many of you guys actually have the patience? One quick way I'm going to show you. What you'll want to do is you want to take the wing right here, bend it backwards, and bend it so it's actually tucked underneath the breast. Just like that. That way it lays flat and lays tucked into the side of the bird. And when you don't have any butcher twine, and even with smaller birds like little small Cornish rock hens or game hens or chickens, this is an effective method to use. So, we pretty much got our bird all set up here. Seasoning. Like I said, this is going to be more about technique than with any actual seasonings or with aromatics, stuffing the bird, going into all those type of things. So I'm just going to keep it very, very simple. Liberally though, we are going to season the outside with kosher salt. And black pepper. That's it. You can put things like granulated garlic, granulated onion, cayenne for you guys that are a little bit more adventurous. But like I said, this is just going to be a very simple demonstration here that's more about the technique than it is about anything with flavor. And like I said at the start of the video, my job was to make a succulent bird. And I'm going to try to do that with less of the advantages that everybody else would have as far as basting it or putting it into a brine beforehand. I've done none of those things. All I've done was wash this bird and put it onto this table here. So we seasoned the bird. The next thing that I'm going to do is this little thing right here, which is the biggest liar to you ever. I'm going to toss it. Don't ever. It annoys me when people have to use that thing. It's such a waste. All it does is just It is designed to squeeze a little triangle tip that goes inside the breast of the bird and squeeze it. Once it gets to a certain temperature and it starts to squeeze, it'll pop that thing out. But it does that when it's at a temperature that's well beyond cooked. All it's going to do is result into a dry bird and unhappy people at your house for your dinner. No good, no bueno. So, I've got plastic wrap here. And you might be asking me what I'm going to be doing with plastic wrap. I am going to wrap this bird. Loosely, but I'm going to wrap this bird. Why am I going to wrap this bird? This is part of the technique that I was talking about. When I worked for a resort in Wisconsin, we had holiday brunches of 500 to 600 people, and we had to cook the night before 50 to 60 something odd turkeys. So on that particular day, nobody's oven was sacred. Everybody's oven was mine. And I went through the whole resort, and I should say just me. It was me and the rest of the banquet chefs. Went through the whole resort, commandeered every single oven that was available to us, set them all up the way we needed to, and prepared these turkeys just how I'm showing you right now. And we cooked them overnight. That is exactly what I'm going to do with these. So I've covered the bird with plastic. Now I'm going to cover it with foil. And once again, going back to my days at the resort that I used to work at, we would do this for holiday brunches for 500 to 600 people. 50 to 60 turkeys spread throughout the banquet kitchen, the 3 different restaurants that the resort offered, the pastry kitchen, and any like Alto Shams or portable ovens that we could ever get our hands on. And what we did is what I'm going to tell you right now. We took all of our ovens, preset them to 200 degrees. Each one of the ovens were set for 200 degrees, and we let them go overnight. That is exactly what I'm going to do with this bird. It is about 11:30 right at this point right now. I'm going to put this thing into the oven. And I'm going to forget about it. That's it. I covered it with plastic and foil, and I put it in at a very low temperature. What that's going to help to do for us is that since it's cooking at such a low temperature, it's never going to actually get to the point where it's at like a cooking to a point where it's at 200 something degrees. Since it's actually baking at just about 200 degrees, it's going to take a while for it to come up to temperature. It's going to take a while for it to get to that point. And it's just going to keep a lot of those juices within the bird. Putting the plastic and foil on that only helps that process as well. But there's going to be another step to that. Once it's done, I'm going to show you the rest of the way to finish off this bird. All right, good morning. Well, maybe not morning for you guys, but it's morning for me. It's about 9:30 here, so it's been about 9 hours since we put the turkey in. And as you can see, I got it resting right in here next to me. Only thing that I really did with it is one time during the night is just to make sure that I drained away all the juices that we're collecting. And something that I didn't tell you before I put it into the oven is that we had it on a sheet pan, but I also had another pan below it so that any drippings that might have maybe overflowed if I didn't catch them in time would drop into that pan and not onto the bottom of the oven and cause like a bunch of smoke or anything. Fire while you're sleeping is never a good thing. So what I ended up doing was I collected all the juices, and I actually have them in this little saucepan right here. And eventually, maybe I'll show you how to do a nice little gravy from those as well. But we're here for this. So I'm going to pull this boy over here. And as is usually the case with turkeys, once you cook them, they will shrink a little bit on you. That's just normal. And this is what 9 hours at 250 degrees looks like. And right now, it doesn't look all that bad. I mean, it is very, very juicy. If you can see, like right here, Can't get my camera to show it. Right up in here. That's just natural, just falling away. I didn't even poke it. Yet, very tender, very juicy. But it's done, it's cooked, it's juicy, but it doesn't have that nice golden brown that you usually see from a turkey. That when you look at the pictures, you look at, or even you have memories from when your grandmother or your mother or you went to somebody's house for a grandparent. Their turkeys were just like golden brown, delicious, beautiful looking all over. What we have here is not quite even close to that. So we need to do a little bit more work with it. What I'm going to do is I'm going to take a little squirt bottle of just plain old vegetable oil and a paper towel. And what I want to do is, the turkey's pretty much cooked, but what we're going to do now is just dress it up now. What I want to do is add a little bit of oil on the outside of the bird, on the outside of the skin there. And then just kind of use the paper towel to kind of blot it in and just make it so it's even. And I have a ton of excess. Now you might be wondering, why am I oiling the bird? The oil is going to help with the next part of what we're going to do with this. We're going to throw this right back into the oven. I've got it preset for 450 degrees. It's about the highest that my oven goes. I would actually prefer to go 5, but beggars can't be choosers. It's a beautiful oven. It works for me. I'll take 450. I'll take it where I can get it. But what we're going to do is going to place this right back into the oven, 450 degrees, only until the outside browns. The whole thing is cooked, and doing it at that high of a temperature for a long period of time is going to start to make that work that we did to try to concentrate all the juices in there start to go for naught. You just want to have it in there just long enough so that you can get that nice golden brownness. That's exactly what we're going to do. So hard to say with this, because this is an electric coil oven. It's not a normal convection oven. It has a gas burners below it, and it's definitely not a convection oven like the ones that I use at work and with my jobs, where it's gas going through it, but there's also a fan, so that also circulates air and it makes it so it's very easy to do a process like this. But what we're going to do is we're going to do it 400 degrees, 450 degrees I should say, right back in there, and we'll just keep an eye on it. It's just going to be a thing where we're looking at it, gauging its color, and pulling it when we're ready. And I'll show you what it looks like when we're done. Alright, so to spare you from the rest of what I had to do, I ended up pulling it out of the oven. We gave it about 15 minutes. That's about all it took for it to brown up nicely. Took it out, drained some more of the juices, and I added it back to my pot, which I've actually put in the refrigerator to chill. Plattered it, and we have it. Right over here. Beautiful, beautiful. This took pretty much all of me setting the oven for 200 degrees, putting it on overnight, checking on it one time to make sure there was no spillage inside the oven, turning the oven back up to 450 degrees, blasting it for 15 minutes. You could let this go overnight, just let it stay warm, just put it in a nice warm spot inside of a warm oven until you're ready for it on your next holiday meal, and you'll have the most perfect turkey that you can ask for. But I did promise that this was going to be a juicy, succulent turkey. And it looks beautiful, but the true test is going to be seeing if it is actually juicy inside. So here we go. I'm going to cut away the whole breast here. Cut away that too. And then I'll move this over so I can get into there nice and proper. There we go. So there's the whole breast right there. Looks pretty good to me. Looks pretty good to me. Steal a little piece right here. Nice. Nice. Because we let it rest, and we didn't slice it immediately, a lot of those juices have been locked inside of it. You can kind of see it over here in the little bits of, well, these are good, the little bits that I left over here on the breast. That's all it takes. You just have to be very careful. And please, please get rid of that funky little red thing that's inside of your, please get rid of that funky little red thing, that little pop-up thermometer thing. It's not going to do you any good. It's just going to result in a very dry turkey and a very messy holiday. Remember, work smarter, not harder. I'll see you later.